The city lights flickered like broken promises as Clara stood in front of Nicholas, her heart pounding against her ribs. His office smelled of power, polished wood, cold metal, and the faint trace of expensive cologne. Once that scent meant safety, now it smelled like the end. "Don't interfere. I'm marrying someone else," Nicholas said, his tone steady, emotionless, as if he were signing another business deal. For a heartbeat, Clara couldn't breathe. The world seemed to tilt, and everything blurred except for the sharpness of his words echoing in her ears. She had imagined this day 1,000 times, him confessing love, not breaking it. Her lips trembled, 1,000 truths dying behind them. She wanted to tell him about the life growing inside her, the heartbeat that connected them forever. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw nothing. No trace of the man who once held her hand under the stars and swore she was his reason for living. Her fingers tightened around her coat as she fought the urge to scream, to beg him to remember. But pride kept her silent. He walked past her without looking back, his shadow brushing hers like a final goodbye. The elevator doors closed, and in that sound, her world ended. Clara pressed her palm against her stomach, feeling the faint warmth beneath her skin. "I'll protect you," she whispered to the tiny lives growing within her. Tears burned, but she didn't let them fall. Love had abandoned her, but courage had not. As she stepped into the rain outside, lightning flashed across the sky, as if the heavens themselves were bearing witness to her heartbreak. She walked away without knowing that one day, the man who turned his back tonight would spend the rest of his life trying to find her again. 5 years had passed, yet every night still carried the faint echo of that moment. Clara had built a new world from the ashes of her old one. It wasn't grand or easy, but it was real. The laughter of her twin daughters filled the small apartment she called home, soft and sweet like the music of healing. Haley and Hannah were her everything, 2 rays of light born from heartbreak, 2 tiny faces that reminded her daily that love could still bloom even after destruction. She had learned to survive the long nights, the unpaid bills, the loneliness. She worked in a local flower shop, her hands stained with petals and hope, arranging beauty for others while quietly rebuilding her own. Still, there were moments, quiet ones, when she would pause and wonder if Nicholas ever thought of her. Did he ever feel the emptiness where their love used to be? Did his wealth, his empire, fill the void he created? She pushed those thoughts away, reminding herself that the past had no hold on her anymore. Or so she wanted to believe. One gray morning, as she walked her daughters to school, a black car slowed beside them. The tinted window rolled down, and for a fleeting second, her breath caught. The man inside looked achingly familiar, the sharp jawline, the composed expression, the same eyes that once made her feel seen. Their gaze met through the drizzle, a silent recognition that burned through the years between them. Before she could blink, the car moved on, leaving her standing on the wet pavement, heart pounding. She told herself it couldn't be him. Nicholas Ryden belonged to another world, one of glass towers and headlines. But deep inside, something stirred, whispering that destiny wasn't finished with them yet. Nicholas Ryden had everything a man could dream of: power, wealth, respect, but none of it felt like victory anymore. Every achievement only deepened the silence in his heart. 5 years had passed since that day, yet some nights he still saw Clara's eyes in his dreams, those eyes filled with love, pain, and something he hadn't understood until it was gone. The woman he once dismissed had become the ghost he couldn't escape. He told himself it was guilt, but the truth ran deeper. Somewhere inside him, something vital had been left behind with her. His marriage, once a grand social statement, had crumbled quietly. There was no affection, only formality held together by convenience. The woman he married loved his name, not his soul, and Nicholas had realized too late that the one person who truly loved him had walked out of his life carrying a secret he never knew. One afternoon, he visited a community event organized by a local charity his company supported. He wasn't supposed to stay long, just a brief appearance for the cameras. But then, across the field, he noticed a woman arranging flowers for the tables. Something about her movements, graceful, familiar, made his chest tighten. When she turned, the world seemed to still. It was her, Clara. The same eyes, the same quiet strength, only now there was something even more powerful. Peace. Before he could stop himself, he started walking toward her. His steps felt heavy, each one echoing the weight of his choices. He didn't know what to say, how to undo years of silence, but when their eyes met, he felt it. Time hadn't erased anything. And as two small girls ran toward Clara, laughing, he froze. They looked up at her, identical faces beaming, and something deep inside Nicholas broke open. For a moment, Nicholas forgot how to breathe. Two little girls stood beside Clara, each holding a paper flower they had made, their bright laughter cutting through the noise around him. Their hair shimmered like gold under the afternoon sun, and their brown eyes, those eyes, mirrored his own. He felt something inside him shift, an ache that words couldn't name. It wasn't possible, he told himself. Yet deep down, something whispered that it was. His gaze met Clara's, and in that instant, the truth he had never known began to unfold silently between them. She didn't speak, but her guarded expression told him everything. Clara felt her chest tighten as Nicholas approached. The world seemed to blur around her. She had imagined this moment for years, though not like this. Not with her daughters beside her, not with the man who had once crushed her standing only steps away. She straightened her shoulders, unwilling to let him see her tremble. "Clara," he said softly, his voice carrying both disbelief and regret. "It's been a long time." She nodded, forcing a small, polite smile. "Yes, it has." The twins peeked curiously at him, their innocent curiosity slicing through the silence. Nicholas's eyes lingered on them for a heartbeat too long, his thoughts spinning. They had his eyes, his dimples. He felt a chill of realization, one that made his pulse race. Clara quickly guided her daughters away, her voice gentle but firm. "Girls, it's time to go." As they walked off, he stood frozen, watching the woman he had once let go, and the two little souls who now carried pieces of him. For the first time in his life, Nicholas Ryden, who controlled everything and feared nothing, felt powerless. Something inside him told him that fate had just handed him the one thing money could never buy, a second chance he might not deserve. Nicholas couldn't erase the image of the twins from his mind. Their laughter echoed in his thoughts long after the event ended. He tried to focus on meetings, numbers, contracts, but every time he blinked he saw their eyes, identical to his. That night, in his vast penthouse, surrounded by silence, he felt something he hadn't felt in years, regret that burned. For the first time, success felt meaningless. He poured a glass of water, stared at his reflection, and saw not a powerful CEO, but a man who had lost the only thing that truly mattered. He needed to know the truth, even if it broke him. Days later, he returned to the flower shop. Clara stood behind the counter, arranging tulips, her hair tied loosely, sunlight brushing her face. She froze when she saw him. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered, her tone steady, but her hands trembling slightly. "I just want to talk," Nicholas said softly. 5 years is a long time. She met his eyes, and for a heartbeat, he saw the woman he used to love, the warmth, the gentleness, but now layered with strength he didn't remember giving her. "Those girls," his voice caught. "Are they, She turned away before he could finish. "They're mine," she said quietly, "and that's all that matters." Nicholas took a step forward, his voice breaking through the distance between them. "Clara, please, I need to know." She finally looked at him, and in that silence, her tears told him what her words could not. The truth settled heavily between them. Those 2 little girls were his. For a moment neither spoke. The air carried only the sound of her quiet breathing, and his heart shattering under the weight of realization. Nicholas stood frozen, his world tilting beneath the weight of the truth. The twins were his. Every moment he had spent chasing power now felt empty compared to the years he had lost with them. He wanted to speak, to apologize, but words failed him. Clara watched him quietly, her eyes soft yet guarded. "They don't know," she said finally. "They think their father is gone." Her voice trembled slightly, though she tried to hide it. Nicholas swallowed hard, guilt tightening in his chest. "Then let me be here now," he said, his tone low and raw. "Let me try." Clara shook her head, tears glistening. "You chose your path, Nicholas. You can't just step into their lives because you suddenly feel regret." But as she turned to walk away, Haley's laughter echoed from the corner where the twins were playing. Nicholas glanced at them. 2 little souls building towers with paper flowers, their faces glowing with innocence, and something inside him broke open completely. He knelt beside them, unable to stop the tears that burned behind his eyes. "Those are beautiful," he said gently. The girls smiled, handing him a paper flower each, their trust effortless, pure. Clara's breath caught at the sight. For the first time in years, the distance between them felt fragile, almost breakable. Days passed, and Nicholas returned, not as a CEO, but as a man trying to learn how to be a father. He helped with homework, told bedtime stories, and learned that love wasn't built on grand gestures, but on quiet moments shared. Slowly, Clara's walls began to soften. One evening, as the sun painted the sky gold, she found him sitting with the twins asleep in his arms, whispering promises he once failed to keep. Her heart ached, not with anger, but with something deeper, hope. And as she watched them together, she finally understood that sometimes even the deepest heartbreaks can lead to the kind of love that never fades, only transforms.